Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Buffalo SportsCenter. I am Don, and today we are going to discuss the flurry of moves that the Buffalo Sabres have made in the preparations of their upcoming season, the 2023-24 season. Yes, it's that time of the year again. The Bills are roaring, they're winning. The Sabres are finally done with their excruciatingly long training camp and very long preseason, and now we have seen the Sabres cut a bunch of players and finalize their opening night roster, which will be on October 12th against the New York Rangers at KeyBank Center. But before I get to all of that and all the moves that the Sabres have made, make sure to hit that like button and to subscribe. We are closing in to 2,000 subscribers here on the YouTube. We have surpassed 5,000 followers on the Instagram, and we are building a community in the Discord. All three of those links to those platforms are down in the description down below. Well, of course, except for the YouTube. You are on the YouTube right now. Make sure to follow us on all of those platforms. Now, let's discuss some of the moves and some of the intrigue surrounding the Sabres roster heading into this pivotal season here. So, of course, we all know the Sabres missed the playoffs by a singular point last year, so it was important that this year we should see even more improvement and see the Sabres finally end their long and lengthy playoff drought. And they're going to have to do that by scoring a lot of goals, and their forward core looks very much set to score a lot of goals once again. Of course, that first line isn't really too surprising. Jeff Skinner and Alex Tuch being centered by Tage Thompson on the first line. They're one of the best first lines in the NHL last season. Look for them to continue that momentum and that chemistry heading into this season. Now, the second line is where things start to get a little intriguing here for the Buffalo Sabres. You have Jordan Greenway, who the Sabres acquired at the trade deadline and who was a constant scapegoat for Sabres fans at the end of last season. Greenway, I won't be the first to admit it. I will join the bandwagon when I say that Greenway wasn't incredibly impressive last year. He had his moments, yes, but he was a little inconsistent defensively. He didn't necessarily nail down the system that Don Granato wants his team to play. Now, with a full offseason and a full training camp and preseason with the Sabres, I expect that inconsistency to go away. And throughout the preseason, Greenway has looked better. There's a reason why he's now in the top 6, and it's not because Granato is playing favorites. His skating has looked better. His forechecking is one of the best on the team, and he's another big-bodied kind of hitter that will protect some of these other two guys like Casey Mittelstadt and rookie Zach Benson. And speaking of Zach Benson, he has been lighting it up during the preseason. It is no surprise to me that Zach Benson, our 13th overall pick from this most recent draft, is making the Sabres roster. Now, for the Sabres, they haven't had a first-round pick outside of the top 2 overall picks make the team immediately after being drafted. I feel like the last one was Mikhail Grigorenko almost 10 years ago. That was deeper into the first round that actually made the team straight out of camp. Benson has done that, and it wasn't even close. He was at the beginning of training camp. He was a little bit on the bubble, but by the end of the preseason, there is no doubt in my mind that Benson can bring a lot of scoring, a lot of dynamic playmaking to this top 6 core. Now, I would be interested to see if maybe Don Granato wants to flip Benson and Alex Tuch, but this is mainly how they lined up for their last preseason game and what I'm projecting would be the opening night lineup. Now, we saw Don Granato kind of mess around with Tuch a little bit last year. We saw him put him on the first line, of course, with Skinner and Thompson. That worked really well. We've seen Don Granato put Tuch with Dylan Cousins and Peterka, or Cousins and Quinn whenever Peterka or Quinn wasn't doing their greatest last season to provide a little more veteran stability to the deeper lines. And we also saw him put him with Mittelstadt and Thompson when Tage was kind of injured. So there is a lot of maneuvering. This isn't a necessarily set in stone lineup. This is more of what I'm projecting and what Don Granato usually has played last season, and I feel like Greenway, Mittelstadt, and Benson each really complement each other well. Mittelstadt is the playmaker. He will be driving this line. I thought he was fantastic at the end of last season. He looks to have not lost a step during the preseason. Benson will be finishing those plays off, and Green will be there for some complementary scoring, plus some more hits and protection of these two younger guys. Even though I say younger guys, even though Greenway is, I think, 24 years old, so he's not even that old to begin with. But yeah, this is a really solid top six for the Sabres. And, if there wasn't any depth behind these guys, I'd be a little worried. But that's the thing with this team this year. There is depth behind the Sabres. Top six. And let's look at the bottom six now. This third line, I think, is one of the best third lines in the NHL with J.J. Peterka, Dylan Cousins, and Victor Olofsson. J.J. Peterka looking to take the next step after a very promising rookie year. I liked a lot of what he showed. He just needs to be a little more consistent, but that's not really in question. He was a rookie. There was growing pains for sure. I would love to see him become more of a complete player during his sophomore year. Hopefully he doesn't have a sophomore slump, but if he did, it would be really disastrous for Buffalo, of course. Dylan Cousins had a awesome breakout year last year, scoring 30 goals for the first time in his career, having over 50 points for the first time in his career. He set career highs in goals, assists, and points, and plus minus, and power play goals and assists. So that's really good for him. Now, Victor Olofsson, yeah, I get it, Sabres fans. We don't like Victor Olofsson. He is good for a couple months in the year. For about half the year, Olofsson is good. The other half, he's invisible. Where is he on the ice? We usually don't know. Olofsson doesn't provide much defensively. He's mainly a power play specialist who can, on occasion, impact the game at even strength. He's a defensive liability, as I've mentioned already. So, Don Granato, I would love to see, and I'm really hoping Jack Quinn comes back soon enough so that Victor Olofsson maybe gets traded. We've also heard rumors about Patrick Kane coming to Buffalo once he's fully healthy. We'll see, but Victor Olofsson's spot in this lineup, even though he survived training camp and the preseason, I wouldn't be 100% certain that Olofsson is on the Sabres by the end of this season. I could definitely see him being traded once other guys return from the injury sheet, such as Jack Quinn, or maybe even they call Brandon Byro or Lucas Rusek. We shall see. Victor Olofsson, his spot in this lineup is definitely not set. But for a third line, this is pretty good. Hopefully they add even more scoring depth to the Sabres team. And then we got to talk about our fourth line a little bit. Zemgus Girgensons, Peyton Krebs, Kyle Okposo. These group of guys are one of the best defensive forwards in the NHL. They are one of the best defensive lines in the NHL last year. I would love to see them keep it going, but Okposo, he's getting older. I really thought last year was going to be his final year with the Sabres. They decided to bring him back for another go-around as the captain. Maybe he takes another step back. He is almost, I think he's 35 years old, so he looked slow last year. I don't know how much faster or how much slower he's going to look this year, but my bet would be on the slower side. Zemgus Girgensons, the Latvian locomotive, I was really worried he was going to leave to a team like Pittsburgh in the offseason. There were heavy rumors that he would, but he decided to stay. The Sabres rewarded him with a new one-year contract, so that is fantastic for him. He's a guy he's been with this franchise, this team, for so long. It's about time he sees a team that's actually shown some growth, and maybe he even gets a taste of the playoffs. That would be awesome for a guy like him. And then there's Peyton Krebs, who he's been starting to feel the heat of the fans lately for not being such a prolific scorer. I'd love to see him be more consistent in that aspect, but he provides so much defensively that I think while Sabres fans may have wanted him to put up 20 goals a season and be one of the main top six forwards for the Sabres, on this team, he doesn't really need to be. He has found a good groove, a good role as a defensive fourth-line forward. Now, put him with some more skilled guys like maybe someday Matt Savoy or even Brett Murray, and maybe he'll put up a couple more points. And maybe Don Granato won't keep putting him on the ice for defensive face-offs. But Peyton Krebs, I do like what I've seen from him. He did drop the gloves with Sidney Crosby in the final preseason game, so that's always fun to see. But let's keep going on now, folks, and talk about the defensemen for the Sabres. And the first pairing here that I will discuss has drawn the ire of a lot of fans so far in the preseason because Connor Clifton has not looked good so far in a Sabres uniform. With Boston, he was fantastic. I really loved it when the Sabres picked him up in the offseason, but through his first 2 preseason games, Clifton has looked rough. He has not been good in his own zone, hasn't been able to tie his guys up, and looks he's got the jitters. He's got the jitterbugs so far, and it's his comfortableness. I hope with the season progressing, that'll get better, but right now it's not doing too great. And Rasmus Dahlin, he is Dahlin. Rasmus is awesome. I love Dahlin. Defensively good, offensively good. He is the cornerstone for the Sabres blue line, and so is Owen Power. Now, we are waiting on Kevyn Adams to extend both Dahlin and Power with new contracts. That hasn't happened yet. Apparently, it will happen at some point, so be on the lookout for that. But Owen Power, like Peterka, like Jack Quinn, he was a rookie last year, essentially, playing his first full season in the NHL, and there were times where he looked fantastic. Looked so composed. He looked like he was a 6th or 7th year NHL defenseman. And then there were times where he looked a little scared to shoot the puck. He was a little tepid in his own zone. Didn't box guys out. Not the most physical defenseman either. So hopefully those all take a step forward this season. He'll hopefully be supported by Henri Jokiharju, but I'm really questioning why Henri Jokiharju is still on the team. He's had a couple years to prove himself that he can handle top 4 minutes, and he's never really been able to prove that he can. So for Don Granato to put him in the top 4 with Owen Power, he was playing with Power for most of the preseason, just really, I find so surprising. And then the bottom pairing, you got Mattias Samuelsson and Erik Johnson, another free agent get for the Sabres. Mattias Samuelsson, I'm also very surprised that he is on the third pair. I would have loved to see Don Granato put Samuelsson back with Dahlin for the season. Now, I do know Samuelsson has been playing on his offside for all of his time in the NHL, so maybe he needs to go to that left-hand side, but still, Clifton, Jokiharju, and Erik Johnson isn't the most sound depth at the right shot defensive position for the Sabres. So maybe at some point we see Samuelsson be flexed up to play with Dahlin or Owen Power again. And then the extra, surprisingly enough, Jacob Bryson. Jacob Bryson made the team over Riley Stillman. And if you go back to some of my live streams last year, you will see me complaining to howling back about Jacob Bryson and how he just doesn't play defense. He's not good offensively. He doesn't play defense, and yet he's still here. Apparently, he's had a strong training camp. I haven't really noticed him. He doesn't play a ton of minutes anyways, so maybe he would be okay coming off from the press box every few games or so. But it's just really strange because Kevyn Adams did trade a decent prospect to the Vancouver Canucks to get Bryson's competition, Riley Stillman, at the trade deadline. And yet we have waived Riley Stillman, and there is no guarantee that he survives to Rochester. So just really confusing by Don Granato and Kevyn Adams with that move there. But let's continue now and finally talk about the goaltending position here for the Buffalo Sabres, and once again, they will be carrying 3 goalies. Don Granato could not make a decision at the backup goalie position. Now, the starter seems to be set with Devin Levi. Now, he did have a couple of preseason games against, for instance, the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Pittsburgh Penguins, but he is better than anything else the Sabres got, namely Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who once again gives up 3 goals or more, even if he has a good game. A good game for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is 3 goals against. That I've just accepted that at this point. I thought Eric Comrie was the better of the 2 in preseason, but I'm not watching everything. Maybe Don Granato saw something, and Mike Bale saw something that I and other Sabres fans didn't. But I thought Comrie should be the primary backup, and UPO kind of booted a little bit. Even though I love UPO. He's a great character, great guy. But would have liked to see Comrie get those backup minutes. Now, Devin Levi, this is going to be his first full season in the NHL, and it's really nerve-wracking that the Sabres, who could be a playoff team this year, are banking their hopes on Devin Levi. and I get it. Devin Levi is the most hyped up Sabres goalie since Ryan Miller, but that doesn't exactly spell confidence in me. I don't want the Sabres playoff hopes to live or die off the back of a rookie goalie. And that is just also very strange that Kevin Adams didn't address the goaltending position this offseason. Hey, Connor Hellebuck is still out there in case the Sabres really want to get freaky with it. So yeah, that's the Sabres opening night roster. The lines could change, but these guys will be in the team. They will be either in the press box or on the ice when they take on the New York Rangers on Thursday night, October the 12th at 7 o'clock p.m. I was Don. This is Buffalo SportsCenter. What did you think about with Don Granato's decisions here? Do you like the opening night roster? What would you have changed, or would you kept it the same? I was Don. This is Buffalo SportsCenter. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe, and I hope to see all of you in the next couple of videos. Anyways, peace out, folks.